Welcome to this James the Bike Guy, where today we're getting to check out an adjustable gravel bike from Giant that spans the gap from a performance race gravel bike to a bike you can do some adventure packing on as well. One that's totally redesigned with up to 53 millimeter tire clearance for 2022, and one that I had the lucky chance to ride on out in Utah in fall. That's right, in front of us is a Giant Revolt Advanced 2. This is a carbon fiber Giant gravel bike, and it's brand new for 2022 with some really cool features we're going to go into, as well as find out exactly what it weighs. So if this kind of thing is interesting to you, be sure to hit that subscribe button and let's check out this bike together. As we begin to check out this bike, this is the second generation of Giant's Revolt gravel series. Giant came into gravel right as it was beginning to get really performancy and span the gap of a lot of different riding styles. And they came out with the Revolt series, which did a great job of getting into the market with an awesome bike. And new for 2022, they took their learning from that first generation of Revolt to make this bike a bit better and a bit more capable for a wide range of usage. And the Revolt series is going to come in their Alux aluminum versions or in their advanced carbon fiber versions, which is the bike that we have in front of us here. And it's going to sport some really neat features we'll get into on the frame specifically to allow it to be more capable for varied terrain. But the high levels as we begin to check out this bike is they've increased the stiffness to weight ratio, which allows this bike to perform more like a road bike, especially on hard pack and speed. And then they've added some features like the ability to run a traditional seat post, clearance up to 53 millimeter tires on 700C wheels. And then they lengthened the reach as well as adjusted the geometry to make the bike both more stable when off-road, but not lose the performance or darty-like feeling that you get from a road bike. And all that ties together to a really fun adventure style rig. So diving into this advanced level carbon frame from Giant, let's talk about some of the bike packing features. So here we've got mounts to be able to run fenders on the bikes. You also have mounts for side bags on the front end. Going across the bike, we do have a top tube braze-on mount here. You've got a triplicate down tube mount as well as dual seat tube mounts. Underneath, down where the bottom bracket is, we've got mounts for water bottles there as well. And going into the back of the bike, this is going to be set up with the ability to run fenders with all those mounts as well. Plus, you can run a rack on this bike. So the rack would come up from the rear, but you can see the seat stay and the top tube are divorced. So they end up adding this adapter right onto the top where the seat post is to be able to run rack mounts going to the back. Now, that seat post is a great place for us to talk even more. So Giant is well known for their defuse style seat posts. And what those are basically seat posts that the back side of it is flat, which allows the seat post to have a little extra give going back. But then it means that you have to run a proprietary seat post in this gorgeous frame. Well, luckily for 2022, Giant has corrected that by now adding this little spacer or adapter that you'll be able to see just slightly in there. And what that adapter does is that allows you to slide in this piece, run a defused seat post if that's what you want, or remove it and run a traditional 27.2 round seat post. Now, the neat thing with that round seat post is it is routed to be able to run a dropper post. You can add that in the future, which is amazing to see. And up front, you'll notice that it's all internal cable routing, but they're still running a traditional steer tube, so you can run any bar and stem combo that you want. Now, this goes down through a tapered steer to this carbon fiber front fork. Of course, through axle, 12 by 100 up front, and then moving into the through axle on the back is a 12 by 142 with a really neat party trick. So you can see down here, this bike now has adjustable geometry. So this spacer piece can pull out and you can flip it to adjust the geometry. And what that allows for is that the chainstay length is going to change from 424 millimeters in short to 434 millimeters in long. And then that's also going to allow the entire wheelbase of the bike in the size medium large like we have in front of us to go from 1031 to 1041. Now, a couple of benefits come from that. The longer you make the wheelbase, the more stable it is, as well as you can run greater tire clearance. So in the back, running the short setting like the bike is in right now, where the axle is furthest forward, that's going to allow a tire size of up to 42 millimeters. Go ahead and lengthen that out, and you can run up to 700 by 53 millimeters, which is absolutely massive clearance. Now, going along with that increased wheelbase, they also increased the reach of the bike, but then they did something very interesting. They actually steepened the head tube angle. Now, typically, most bikes are going longer, slacker, all those kind of things. But as you do that, you slow some of the inputs. And part of this adjustment, they went from a 70.5 degree head tube angle to a 71.5 degree head tube angle. And the other thing they changed is they adjusted the bottom bracket drop to be 80 millimeters. So you combine this together, we still have very precise steering, if not even more precise than the previous gen. But that lengthened cockpit gives a more comfortable position, a little more room, and the ability to adjust from short to long on the wheelbase really allows you to dial this in to the type of riding you want to go on. Getting a handle on the bike, we've got Giant's cockpit. So this cockpit is made using their Contact XR handlebar setup. This XR handlebar is specific to their gravel bikes with a couple of real neat features. You can see here it's got a reverse sweep, which allows the bar to come back to a bit more comfortable position. You also then have a little bit of flare on the lower piece of the handlebar, but then they dial in their diffuse shape, which gives it sort of that ovalized shape, and it's something that I tend to like on a gravel bike because it helps shrink the size of the bar and it also helps with your vibration. And then it goes into this contact alloy stem, moving back to Giant's approach saddle, sitting on top of their carbon fiber diffuse seat post. So like we said before, diffuse seat post has that flat spot in back for a little additional flex as you're riding, but this is capable of running a standard 27.2 seat post as well as internally routed dropper post. Moving into the drivetrain of the Giant Revolt Advanced 2, we've got a 2x11 speed drivetrain. So out back is the GRX 810 rear derailleur operating through an 11 to 34 tooth rear cassette, which is going to give pretty great range, as well as this derailleur is set up with the capability of running a clutch. So right now you can see the chain kind of move around. Well, we've got a clutch mechanism you can flip up, and in doing so, that tightens everything up to keep the rear end a lot quieter on the trail. And then up front is going to be a subcompact with a 48-32 chainring combination. So that 48-32 means that you've got less than a 1-to-1 gear ratio for really steep, substantial climbs, as well as still with that 42 and 11 should be fast enough for quality descents on these big wide tires. Now, shifting the bike is of course via some GRX 600 shifters. These shifters are mechanical shift option with an inside button bringing you to harder gear, or whole lever over brings you to an easier gear. And then when you pull back, that's going to control the hydraulic pistons inside of the 2 piston calipers flat mounted on the front and the rear. Moving into the wheel side on the bike, we've got a tubeless setup with Giant's own tires as well as wheels. So starting off with the wheels, this is a double-walled alloy tubeless wheel set called their PX2, which goes to through axle hubs via J-bend spokes. And then mounted up on those wheels are the Giant Crosscut AT1 tires. These AT1 tires come in a 700 by 38 millimeter width, and they're tubeless ready out of the box, which allows for a lot lower tire pressures for increased comfort, as well as you've got a greatly reduced propensity for flats. By running tubeless, pinch flats are a thing of the past, and the sealant inside is going to help seal up any thorns or things like that you may come across. The actual weight of the Giant Revolt Advanced 2 comes in and weighs 18.88 pounds. Thanks for watching this video on the 2022 Giant Revolt Advanced 2. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. While you're at it, be sure to hit that subscribe button and definitely browse the channel so you can see more videos like this to check out as well.